Here's a Sephardic story, beautiful story. It's a story about Chanuka. The story begins like this. There was a rich man that lived in Baghdad, a Jew, and he would invite people to his house. One Shabbat, he only had one guest, took home one guest, and the guest came, saw a beautiful house, rich, thick carpets and beautiful tapestry, and the meal was wonderful, just exquisite. And his family also was, just wonderful. And he's saying after the meal, so the family left the table. They went to do whatever they were doing, learn Torah or whatever. And this man, the guest, he asked his host. So listen, the meal was wonderful, everything was wonderful, but I noticed that in the middle of your table, Shabbat table, there's an old, dirty, broken oil bottle. And I noticed that your servants come and they clean off the table between each course, and they don't take away this bottle, and it's just so it just sticks out. It's dirty. It's all sandy and dirty, and it's old and it's broken. Why do you have that there? So he said, I have it here just to remind me of where I came from. Said, you want me to tell you the story? Of course I want. So he said, okay. He said, when I was a young boy, as my father was a big businessman here in Baghdad, and he was a big businessman. There used to be a big Jewish community in Baghdad, the Arabs, and until the Muslims came in. But anyway, there's a big a big Jewish community. Anyway, so the my father was a big businessman. And he used to go every day and do business, and I was left at home. He used to go early in the morning. My grandfather, he brought me up, and every day my grandfather would wake me up in the morning, and he would give me something to eat. He would give me a sandwich with a bag, and he would, before he sent me out to Torah school, learning Torah. So it's called cheder, cheder. So he would put his hands on my head, give me a kiss, and he'd lift his hands up and say, "Va'ani ana ani ba." And me, where am I going to go? Where can I go? So I loved my grandfather. I didn't understand what he was talking about, but every morning he did that. Va'ani ana ani ba. And me, where am I going to? After a while, I learned in school that this was what Reuven said about Yosef. What happened? Yosef's brothers threw him in, wanted to kill him. They wanted to kill him. And Reuven said, what are you going to kill him for? Let's throw him in this pit. But we'll throw him in the pit. So they said, that's a good idea. So they threw him in a pit. And Reuven's idea was that he was going to come to the pit and take Yosef out and save him. So they threw him in this pit, and Reuven left, and the brothers said, Yehuda said, why, we're not going to benefit anything like that from leaving in this pit. The pit, it says, was full with scorpions and snakes. Let's sell him. So they sold Joseph, and eventually he became a slave in Egypt and a prisoner. Okay. Anyway, Reuven doesn't know that they sold him, and Reuven comes back to the pit, and he sees Yosef, and then Yosef is not here, and Reuven says, Yosef, ani ana bo. That was what Reuven used to say. And me, where am I going to go? What can I do? Yosef is not here. My father is going to be heartbroken when he sees that Yosef is not here. I wanted to save my father the pain, and Yosef is not here. Ani ana bo. So I said, okay, I learned that, but I didn't know what's it got to do with me. Why did my grandfather say every morning, he kissed me on the head, say, ani ana bo, ani, where am I going to go? Anyway, time passed, and one day my grandfather was sick. They took him to the hospital. Afterwards, everyone was crying. Grandpa passed away. So I was still a boy of just fresh off after bar mitzvah. I still had to go to school, but there was no one to take care of me in the morning. My father, his mother wasn't there. I don't know what it was. Anyway, so my father used to take me to his business with him, and he hired a special teacher, a private teacher that would teach me Torah. So I was in my father's business. Usually I caught on pretty good with Torah, but I listened with one ear to the Torah, but I listened with the other ear to the business transactions that were happening. And I started to understand, my father was buying over here cheap and selling over here expensive, and he was making money over here, and he was making connections. And sometimes my father would make a deal. I'd say, why did he sell to that person? He should have sold over there. He should have bought over there. Anyway, my father had a sudden heart attack and he passed away. And now I was left alone. So all of the board of directors of my father's businesses said, listen, we're going to have to liquidate all the businesses. We'll take the money and we'll put it in escrow for you. And I said, no, I want to run the business. I said, listen, you're a 15-year-old boy. You can't run the business. So I said, give me a month, 1 month, and we'll see. And you'll see if I do something like really ridiculous, then you can stop it. They said, okay. So I took like a fish to water and I really succeeded. By the time I was 20 years old, my name was known all over. They were mentioning my name in the government and this. And one day I made a big business deal, like $1 million, and I was walking home happy. And suddenly I see this little Jewish boy sitting on the curb. He had payas on and tzitzis, and I saw him crying. So I said to the boy, what are you crying for? So the boy looked up at me and said, oh, thank you. You're a very kind man, but this is only for Jews. You wouldn't understand. So I realized, how far away I'd gotten from Judaism. What happened when I started becoming big and famous? So I had to hobnob with all these big, important, non-Jewish people. It was hard for me to keep kosher and to put my tzitzis out or to wear a yarmulke, the kippah. And there were times sometimes I had to drive on Shabbat and eat the food with the non-Jews. Anyway, little by little, I left everything. But I didn't realize it. When this boy said, this is only for Jews, so it was like, it struck me. So I said to the boy, I said, listen, I'm a Jew just like you. I learned, maybe I don't look Jewish, but I learned in the Cheder, and I learned Chumash, and I learned Mishnah. So the boy said, oh, I'm sorry. So he said, well, tell me what's the problem. So the boy said, well, our family is very poor. Our father is very sick, and he can't work. And we barely have what to eat in the family. I have 7 brothers and sisters. And today, early in the morning, my mother said, tonight is going to be Chanuka. Oh, everybody's happy. And my mother said, but we've got a problem. We don't have any money. We can't buy any oil, for the candles. So I said, let's look around. Maybe God will do a miracle. And sure enough, we looked around, and my little sister, she found a coin behind one of the chairs or something. So my mother gave me the coin, and she said, you have to run. It's getting near evening, and they're going to close up the grocery store. Run there and tell them that you want to buy a bottle of oil. Buy the bottle of oil, but run, because Ibrahim, he owns the grocery store. He'll close it up soon. So I ran there, and sure enough, I got just as he was closing up, and I bought a bottle of oil, and I started coming home, And as I was coming home, I started thinking, wow, this is really a big miracle. This is a big miracle. We have oil, and we're going to light the candles, and the light is going to illuminate the house, and my mother will be happy, and all the kids will be happy. We'll dance, and my mother will stop crying, and and everybody will be joyous, and we'll sing, and we'll dance. And thinking about this, and I got so involved in my thoughts, and I was sort of rushing to get home, that I tripped over a stone, and I fell, and I watched the bottle arch up in the air, and it came down on another stone, and it broke, and all of the oil. This is the little boy telling the story to our hero. And it broke, and all the oil spilled out. The little boy says, all the oil spilled out. Said, and where am I going to go? And he said, that boy said those words, I envisioned my grandfather saying it to me. And suddenly I said to myself, this is what my grandfather must have foreseen, that the day was going to come, and I'm going to be like this broken bottle. I'm like the broken bottle, and the oil is my soul, and it's all spilled out. And I started trembling, and I said to the boy, listen, the owner of the store, the grocery store, he lives over there. Go and tell him that Masa sent you. That's me. I sent Abram, and tell him that you want, with a servant, you want to buy whatever you want. You want to buy anything you want in the store, buy it and bring it to him. And then the boy went away. I took this bottle and I went home, and I put it on the table right where you see it. And I called all the servants in the house, and I told them all, you have an 8-day break with pay. And I sat and I cried. And suddenly I thought, one second, a Jew can't be like a broken bottle of oil, that the oil spilled out. A Jew is always holy. like in the miracle of Hanukkah, there's always one little vial, a little bit of oil left. So I took out my grandfather's menorah for Hanukkah and I cleaned it off and I got another bottle of oil. And the first night I lit the lights of Hanukkah and I made a blessing. I lit the lights and suddenly my Jewish soul started to become activated. And I said, from now on, I'm going to put on tefillin every day. And the second candle I lit, I said, from now on, I'm going to only eat kosher. And the third, I said, no, I'm going to keep Shabbat and learn Torah and do commandments and give charity until finally my Jewish soul came back to me. And that's why I keep this broken bottle on the table to remind me of where I was and how this broken bottle brought me back to my senses. That's the miracle of Hanukkah. Have a good day with Mashiach now.